Hey everybody, Katie Sutton here. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk with you about what makes dense, chaotic, dramatic energy so sticky. So a lot of times I have people that show up to work with me or ask me questions online and they say, Katie, I really feel like I'm locked into this pattern. I feel like I'm in this dynamic with this person and it's eating me up inside and I don't know how to get out of it. I keep putting more energy into it and I know it's not the thing that I want, but I can't seem to extricate myself from this energy. And, when I look at that for people, myself included, what I often see is there's some part of them that is getting something out of that equation. There's some part of them that is in alignment with the vibration that they so much want to be away from. And the more they try to get away from it, the stickier that energy becomes, and it becomes like quicksand and they start to fall into it. And when they fall into that energy, then they lack the perspective that they need to be able to see why all of the things are happening that are happening, and they can't bring the awareness to the situation so that it can be completed. And so a lot of times my work is in kind of being that mirror and looking at a higher perspective for them to say, well, I can see that this pattern is playing out and that pattern is playing out. And this particular energy is being worked out in this relationship or this situation. And it's a very valuable thing for your soul. And as soon as I point that out and they have that awareness, what happens is I watch their whole body language change. Their being kind of steps back a little bit from that energy, and then that stickiness starts to fall away. And just in us having that conversation, the energy starts to transmute itself. But I do that for people all the time, and I can do it for myself if I'm really, really diligent in looking at what is so attractive about the situation. And so we have a calling right now to really pay attention to where we're putting our time and our energy. And if we find some part of our being wrapped up in something that is depleting us, that is draining our energy, that is taking from us, that is creating chaos for us, that is creating drama for us, creating worry for us, we have an opportunity, as we always do, but it's much more amplified this month, to choose to vibrate higher. And when I say that, that doesn't mean that we look at that situation or other people involved in that situation and we start to judge it and say, I'm better than that, I'm going to vibrate higher than that. And we don't spiritually bypass the situation either. But what we do is we say, okay, there's some part of me that is attracted into this chaotic, sticky energy. There's some part of me that's getting fulfilled here. And as we do that, we start to say, okay, what part of me is that? What is there a wound here? Is there a story here? Is there a part of my being that really needs this validation or this fulfillment that this energy is bringing? And when we start to ask those questions, what we're doing is we're creating distance between us and that energy, right? And as that distance happens, then we start to get perspective, and then the universe can flood that space that we've created with more perspective, more information, more guidance. And so it's really not so much when I say vibrate higher that we are going to a higher frequency, although that often is what's happening. It's almost that we're zooming out, right? So you can think of it as a drone zooming out from a landscape so that you can get the full picture of what's happening. And that higher perspective, that vibrating higher in that higher perspective, is exactly what we need to disentangle from the story and that sticky energy, right? Oftentimes our energy field will take the path of least resistance. And unfortunately, what the path of least resistance often looks like is what we're used to. And so if you're used to a situation, or you're used to being in drama in a situation, or being stuck in a story, then your energy field naturally wants to vibrate into that rut. And so what's required is a zooming out, a higher perspective, so that we can say, oh, look at all of these landmines that I'm getting attached into energetically here, and let me decide to take a different route. And so this idea of vibrating higher, which we're going to be covering this Wednesday, July 13th in our healing circle, is this idea of being able to zoom out of that energy. And the activation that's coming in is one of creating distance between ourselves and these lower timelines. Because what's happening here is we have access to much higher timelines than we ever have in the past. We have access to much more joy and much more connection and much more love than we've been able to access in the past. That doesn't mean it wasn't there. We just have had some blockers that we couldn't get around. Right now, we're being asked to let all of those blockers go. Because as we come into August and we come into the Lion's Gate, which is a huge portal of energy that's going to be shifting our trajectory even higher, we need to let go of as much density as we can between now and then. And so we have an opportunity right now to choose to disentangle ourselves from some of these situations. And so one way that you can work with this energy is to start to make a list of some of the places where you're getting entangled in a frequency that doesn't feel good for you. These would be situations, relationships, ways of being, stories, patterns, things that are present for you that you know drop your face into the carpet every single time and you have trouble extricating yourself from it. And once you get clear on that list, then start to say, okay, how are these individual situations serving me? What am I learning in these situations? And am I done with that lesson? Do I need to keep going back into that energy to keep learning this lesson? Or am I going to claim that I am releasing that frequency? And so that's going to give you a little head start on the work that we're going to do on Wednesday. And you can certainly do this work all throughout the month of July leading up to August so that you have cleared as much as possible and made as much space as possible as you move into this Lionsgate portal, which I'll be telling you more about in the coming days. So if that frequency, if that idea, if this thought process is resonating with you, I encourage you to join us for our healing circle. I'll be bringing in channeled teachings from my guides, expanding on this topic, talking a little bit more about the history of these lower timelines and why they're falling away right now and how you can participate in this process more distinctly. And then at the end, there will be an activation that you will be able to have access to even after the call to keep working with to continue to pull out of these situations. And it really is that energetic distance that we're talking about here. That's what allows source light to flow in and begin to transmute some of the karma and some of the density that may be present between you and these energies. Okay, so I hope you'll consider joining us this Wednesday, July 13th from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. It is recorded if you can't join live. And if you decide to subscribe to be a Healing Circle subscriber, you get access to this and all future Healing Circles and all of the Healing Circles I've ever done going back to November of 2019. That's a lot of healing. All right, so I hope to see you there. I hope you're having a great week, and I will see you soon. Bye.